Welcome to the Fit Podcast, Freedom in Truth, where truth is taught and freedom is lived, attitudes of the kingdom, instruction for kingdom living. We are here. We're now in where are we? We're in Matthew chapter 8. Chapter 8. We're off the mountain. Last week we closed out with in Matthew chapter 7. We closed out Matthew chapter 7 while Jesus was still on the mountain, but now Jesus has come to the foot of the mountain and he's getting ready to do some traveling throughout the community. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring you in. We're going to allow you to travel with us, walk with Jesus, and experience the things that Jesus experienced. So we're going to take you on a journey with us as we go with Jesus, and we hope and pray that you learn something from that experience walking with Jesus. We're going to spend a whole long journey, a lot of time with Jesus. We're going to get a lot of meat and potatoes from Jesus so it can enhance our living here on earth so we could be influenced by heaven. The more we live, the more we are influenced by heaven. So thank you all again for joining us. Like I always say, continue to like and share our page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we thank you for joining us. Well, as you can see, there are new faces on our podcast. Last week we had a new face. We had for a couple of weeks leading up to last week, we had a new face, which was our pastor, Pastor Carlos Wright, the pastor of Miracle Temple Ministry. And this week we have another new face. And you're probably wondering who is the new guy. Okay, the new guy, he's a really great friend of ours. He goes to our church, Miracle Temple Ministry, and he's a deacon, and we're thankful for him. So I am going to introduce you to him and this is how we're going to call him. And this is the last time you'll hear us call him by this name because we get comfortable here on our podcast right there. We get
We
comfortable.
do.
So, but I'm introducing you so you can know who he is and what he's about. So let's give a round of applause for Deacon Dwayne Greene, my brother. Dwayne, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. So before we get started, Dwayne, just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and just a little bit about yourself. Tell the audience.
Like I said, Dwayne Greene. I'm from Raleigh.
Oh, he's from Raleigh
Born,
native.
yeah,
Okay,
born and raised. Father of three,
okay.
grandfather of one.
Uh-huh. Wow, and a
So
grandfather.
yeah,
Okay,
just,
very good. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So welcome again, Jared.
Good
This
to
is
be
our
back.
brother Jared. You know him already. He's an incredible young man. I'm so happy to see you, man. I'm
It's
so
good to see you
excited
too.
about all these incredible things that are going on in your life. Our God is doing some amazing things
He
in your life.
is. He
You
is.
know, that smile is so big. How you doing, brother
I'm
Jared?
doing great. I'm doing great.
Awesome. Welcome, man. Welcome to the podcast. And like what we're gonna do is, like I said, we're at the foot of the mountain at this moment, and we're gonna get into some scriptures. We're starting in part one, so we're starting all over in our series. It's a whole new series because Jesus is in a whole new area, and he's traveling now. Last week he was in one specific area, and we covered that for quite some time. But now he's traveling, he's moving around, and so what I would like for you all to do is to go to Matthew chapter 8, and we are in the New King James Version, so I know you can pull that up on your iPad, your phone, your tablet, and stuff, or you can just do the old-fashioned way, the Bible, the physical Bible. So it's Matthew chapter 8, and I'm going to read verse 1 to 4, and then my brother, he's going to read verse 5 to 13, my brother Jared. And so we can make sure we get the scriptures out, and then we're going to discuss those. We're going to spend the next few minutes discussing those. So, my brother Jared, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read Matthew 8, 1 to 4, and then you can follow along after that, and then we'll
Okay.
get into some conversations with that. So, Matthew 8, 1 to 4, it says, when he had come down from the mountain, great multitude followed him. And behold, a leper came and worshiped him, saying, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Then Jesus put out his hand and touched him, saying, I am willing, be cleansed. Immediately the leprosy was cleansed. And Jesus said to him, see that you tell no one, but go your way, show yourself to the priest, and offer the gift that Moses commanded as a testimony to them.
Now, when Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him, pleading with him, saying, Lord, my servant is lying at home paralyzed,
Mm.
dreadfully tormented.
Mm.
And Jesus said to him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that you should come under my roof, but only speak a word, and my servant will be healed. For I also am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this one, go, and he goes, and to another, come, and he comes. And to my servant, do this, and he does it. When Jesus heard it, he marveled and said to those who followed, assuredly, I say to you, I have not found such great faith, not even in Israel. And I say to you that many will come from east and west and sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the sons of the kingdom will be cast out into outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then Jesus said to the centurion, go your way, and as you have believed, so let it be done for you. And his servant was healed that same hour.
Wow. Hey, man. Awesome. Awesome. My brother, Jared, we're going to talk about the first segment here. We're going to talk about it right at we're right at the foot of the mountain where Jesus just came out of the mountain. And as you can see, all those people that were up there in the mountain, and some of the people that knew or heard about him, probably waiting for him to come down and stuff like that. And now they all congregated around him. But there's something that happened where Jesus ran into someone that normally the public don't want to have anything to associate with, which was a leper, someone with leprosy. So give me your thoughts on that. What do you think?
Well, I thought it was, so amazing because I was reading this and it talks about, a leper comes to Jesus and leprosy, it's, a big deal. It's not a runny nose. It's not it's not a slight sneeze. It's a great affliction, a great disease. And this man, he comes to Jesus and he says, God, if you want it, you can heal me. And I think that shows, the faith he has there, that or he understands the power that Jesus has. And another thing that got to me was the immediacy of it. He says, and immediately the man was healed. The leprosy was cleansed. And so I just saw all those things combined. It shows like the power of Jesus, the power to heal. We talk about that often in our church. Jesus is still, a healer. We still have this power of healing. And so I think it's a really strong start off to the chapter. And it gets even stronger and stronger as you go through the chapter.
Wow.
That's a really strong way to start off.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. What are your thoughts on that, my brother Dwayne?
The one thing I thought about was the fact that Jesus told him to go to not talk to anybody else, go to the priest. So because a lot of times sometimes when you have a blessing or the Lord heals you in some type of way, somebody else might try to throw it off on something else. Say you just was lucky, or you know what I mean. So sometimes you got to be careful who you tell your blessing to, because they'll turn it to maybe luck or it just happened to happen, but it's not the actual case. It's a blessing from God.
Yeah, trying to give someone else the credit, or something else. No, that's not. I just the doctor. They're smart. They do what they got to do.
Exactly.
That's why you heal. You're better. In other words, that's a great point. Thank you, brother Jared. Thank you, brother Dwayne. Now, one of the things that come to mind about this is the fact that he had leprosy. The fact that he had leprosy. So now, and we know, for during that time, people with leprosy, they based on the Jewish laws, and rituals and everything, that he had to be an outcast. And this go back in Moses' days.
Right.
He had to be an outcast. So therefore, he got to be away from people, away, because you can look based on the location where he's at. He was in the area where the mountain was, so that means he probably traveled in and out of the mountains and stuff like that to find food and all that stuff, because he can't be in the city. This wasn't even in the city. This was away in the near the mountains and stuff like that. And the fact that, because you think about today, some people who are in situations like that, all the protocols that we have to protect ourselves is like somebody with COVID. You know,
right, exactly.
You know, somebody got COVID. You're like, what? You gotta go get a mask. Put a mask on. You got a COVID.
Right. Exactly.
Or you sneeze. They like, wait a minute, you got COVID? You know, it's a big deal. Especially not the day that we live in today. People are afraid of everything. You see people driving down the road with a mask on, and they're by themselves in the car.
Yeah.
I don't get that. You know what I'm saying? I'm still trying to figure that part out. Right. You got a mask on, you driving down the road, and you're the only one in the car. That's crazy. People are afraid to die. You know, I heard an old Jamaican proverb say, everyone want to go to heaven, but they're afraid to die. You know? You want to go to heaven, but you're afraid to die. You know what I'm saying? They do everything. But this man had leprosy. And he spoke to the highest, to those people. They're like, this guy's a rabbi. He normally, when they see rabbis has a bunch of people around them protecting them. No, you can't come. You can't come near him. You know what I'm saying? Right. Stay away. They want to protect him because they don't want him to get sick or to get hurt and somehow. But Jesus said, I am willing. And Jesus touched him. You know what I'm saying? Without a second thought. He said, I'm willing, and Jesus touched him. So just imagine the grumbles that were going on in the audience. Like, man, he just touched that guy. That guy got leprosy. He got sores all over him. He's probably smelly and feeling nasty and, you know, like, ugh. But Jesus touched him. Didn't matter. Jesus touched him. And what happened? The story changed for him. He became whole again. And then, like you said, Jesus said, go and show yourself to the priest. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you read, I read the reference scripture, Leviticus 14. I read Leviticus 14. And what happened with Leviticus 14, it has a whole protocol, so to speak, like a way a priest supposed to, the things a priest supposed to do in order to get this guy to be healed from leprosy. A priest has to do a whole, you have to read the whole chapter to get the whole understanding of what a priest has to do. But what Jesus said, in the end, Jesus said, go show yourself to the priest, right? He said, go show yourself to the priest. And he said, tell no one, but go your way, show yourself to the priest, and offer a gift that Moses commanded as a testimony to them. He said, now you going to the priest, but you're not going to the priest to tell them that you have leprosy. The priest already know you had leprosy. Right. And the priest, and obviously they couldn't do nothing about it. But that's why he was out there in the middle of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But he said, offer a gift, and they showed them to the priest as a testimony of what just happened. You know what I'm saying? So that means the priest, going back to Leviticus 14, the priests they ain't had to do nothing. They ain't had to go through all that stuff that Moses said you have to do. The guy come in and he's already healed. He's clean. They're like, who is this guy? Oh, I was the guy that was out there with leprosy. Let me tell y'all what happened. You know what I'm saying? So all the stuff that happened in Leviticus 14 is null and void anymore. To this day, you don't have to go through Leviticus 14 in order to get healed, like you were talking about. You just ask for, say a word. You know what I'm saying? Speak a word. Hey, God, I'm going through this. I'm going through that. Heal me. Or you go to somebody pray for you. You're healed. You don't have to go to a priest. You don't have to go through all of that to get that, because Jesus is the high priest, right? Okay, so that's what it's saying. So Jesus said that man who was now dirty and smelly is now clean, and now he has a testimony to tell them. Say, hey, look, y'all don't have to. He said, remember that stuff that Moses talked about back in Leviticus? He said, we don't have to go through all that, because I met somebody. I met a man that just touched me, and it was over. Yep. You know what I'm saying? He had to go a whole chapter. Look, this only 4 verses to get this man healed. In Leviticus 14, it's a whole chapter, like 30-something verses to get the man healed. But all Jesus did touch us. So think about the impact Jesus had on our lives today. All they have to do is touch us or say a word. So let's go to the other part, my brother Jared, before we close out. Give me your thoughts on that, on the centurion, because I know it was a lot said in this whole passage between the centurion what the centurion said and what Jesus said in response to what the centurion said. So give me your thoughts on the centurion first, and then we're going to talk about Jesus' response to that centurion. So give me, what are some of the things you gather about the centurion, my brother?
I gathered that, the centurion, he's a soldier, and he talked about the authority that he has within the army, or within, the Roman army. If he says do this, the soldier tell him do this, soldier do that. And I was admired, and we'll get into what Jesus thought about it, but I was admired with how he recognized the authority that Jesus possessed. And he said, Jesus, you don't have to come to you're not, my roof isn't worthy for you to come there. But you don't even have to come to my roof to heal my servant or heal my child. And it was super amazing to see it, the faith of this man, and how he knew that Jesus could just say the words. And it's, similar to the leper almost, recognizing the authority that Jesus has. But I just have to give it to the centurion because it's hard to have that type of faith. But he showed it, and he was eventually, rewarded.
Oh my God. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What do you think, my brother Dwayne?
What I thought about it was the fact was that when sometimes it's wild to think about that sometimes people who are not Christians have that faith. They had that faith in Jesus, because like I've been on planes before and we hit some turbulence and you hear people saying Jesus, Jesus. And then I'm like, I could, you could tell, but you could tell when they know who to call. Call on Jesus. So they had that faith. So sometimes you can have somebody who is not a Christian who can have just as much faith or more than some Christians, because sometimes Christians get, lax and thinking about, okay, I know Jesus got me, but it's that time like that. But it just struck me that how much faith he had, even though him not being actual Christian.
Wow. That's a great point. That's a great point there. You know what, the thing that got me, it says, Lord, my servant is lying at home paralyzed. So we don't know what caused him to get paralyzed. He could have been an accident. He could have had a stroke. You know what I'm saying? You don't know. We don't know what happened. But it didn't matter to the centurion. It didn't matter what happened to him. It didn't matter. But the centurion, he knew if he can get to Jesus, no matter the condition, the severity. This guy didn't have a cold. He had the flu.
No.
He had a headache. He probably had a headache, and then boom, it manifests into something where he's paralyzed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He didn't have all of that. He was paralyzed. Obviously, he can't move. Obviously, we don't know how severe the paralyzed. Obviously, it was so bad that he couldn't. It didn't seem like he could do for himself, and because he's a servant. In other words, he can't serve anymore. He's just laying there, or sitting there, or doing. Somebody got to help him. But he's been meant to be a servant. But I want you to think about, like he was talking about the centurion. When you think about centurion, the word century is in there. Henceforth, centurion. Century means 100, right? 100. He says a centurion. So, right? The centurion, that means he's a leader either of 100 soldiers or 100,000 soldiers. Somewhere in there. You know what I'm saying? So that means he has a lot of power. And authority. But he was able to say, look, I know who I'm talking to. Because I'm a man of power and authority. But you got some power and authority that I can relate to. And the one you got is different from what I have. Even though I have the power and authority to tell 100 soldiers or 100,000 soldiers, come, go, do this, do that. It's like the president of the United States. He has the power to say, we're going to war. And no one has the power to say we're not going to war. If he said we're going to war, we're going to war. You know what I'm saying? And once he declared war on a situation or whether it's a defensive or an offensive mission or whatever and stuff like that. I mean, the one who said, no, we ain't going, I ain't going, he ain't gonna be around in the president camp anymore. he's not going to be on the military anymore. He's going to be sitting somewhere, maybe regretting what he said, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But the centurion realized that the soldier realized the power that Jesus had. He recognized it, and like you said, Brother Greene, he realized, man, this guy got a lot of power.
Mm-hmm.
He can heal people. How did he know that? He heard of it. He probably seen it himself in a distance, because the soldiers were everywhere.
Right.
Because they're everywhere. There's soldiers. He has soldiers everywhere. They probably come back and report it to him. Say, hey man, I seen there's a guy out there, a Jewish guy out there. He just touched people and he healed them. You know what I'm saying? Or he just say something and he healed them. So the centurion took that and said, hey man, I need to go see this guy. My guy laying here, no doctors, no money in the world can get this guy to heal. But that guy, he did. And that what made Jesus marvel about it. And like you said, some Christians, they don't have that kind of faith.
Mm-hmm.
They struggle with that kind of faith. They struggle. They struggle in life because they don't have the faith to believe that they can get past their situation.
Yeah.
They can get through. I know for me personally, I seen people die from certain diseases but back then I didn't know what I know now. I didn't pray to God and say, God healed them. I prayed what everybody else was praying. God, is your will, let your will be done. Right. Okay, what does that mean? God's will is done every day.
Right.
Now, do you want God's will to be done in this situation? Are you going to be specific with God to tell him, say, God, can you heal them? Heal them for me. And believe that. And then watch them heal, and then you get to see the power of God. You understand the power of God. But the centurion was like, Jesus was like, wait a minute. This guy just told me. I said, I'll go to his house. But he said, nah, you ain't got to come. Just say a word. Just say a word. Just say it. And that's the power of the faith. And then Jesus, you see, as you can see, Jesus compared that to the Jewish nation,
right?
Who knew they had God in all their lives, generations to generations to generations to generations, up to Jesus. They knew about God. They knew how powerful. They knew about the Red Sea. They knew about the parting of the Red Sea. They knew about eating in the desert, for having food fall out of the sky. They knew that, but they still didn't have the faith like the centurion. Jesus was like, so Jesus went into details, man. He said, y'all gonna regret not having faith like this. He said, because this man, he gonna be able to see a lot of great things happen. If we don't have the faith that we need to have, it's gonna be impossible for us to see God work in our lives. But I always use this phrase, Brother Jared, Brother Greene, is in order for me to have a transaction between me and God, it's not money. Because if I want to buy a car or a house, you need money. You gotta have some money. Right. You ain't got the money, you ain't getting that house.
It's in your home.
Right? They say your home.
It's in your home.
But in order for you to get something done from God, you need faith. Now, if you want a house, you can get a house, right?
Right.
But you can ask God to get the house for you. You still need money to get the house, but God can get the money for you to get the house.
That's right.
Right? You see what I'm saying? It's all about your perspective. That's right. And that's the centurion's perspective. And then a lot of things Jesus said, we're going to live in regret if we don't have this perspective. Even though you call yourself a Christian, I'm a Christian. I'm blessed and highly favored. You know what I'm saying? God is all this, all that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But your life doesn't demonstrate. What do you guys thought to close out?
No, I agree with everything that's been said, and a few things that I want to mention before we close out this episode. One of the things being, Dwayne mentioned it earlier. It's sometimes, but before we're Christians, we have a certain, ambition, or we act a certain way. We go for God, or we go for whatever we want to go for. We are ambitious, but once we become Christians, we sort of, that reduces a bit, or the fire that we would go with things when we weren't Christians. It's no longer there. And so just, you look at the centurion here, and not even a Christian, what do you recognize? He's his profession. Authority means this. So if Jesus has authority, then that means he can do this.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes we lose that. But
Yeah.
also the last thing I want to mention is the centurion, a high position.
Yeah.
And yet he couldn't do anything when it came to healing his
Couldn't do
servant.
nothing.
And so
When it comes to healing them, man, I mean, he could tell people go, but he couldn't tell that guy get up off that bed.
Exactly. And so that just goes to show that, no matter how high we go or wherever we are, we still need Jesus. There are things that are just still going to be out of our control.
Ooh, see, there you go. What do you think? What do you think?
The one thing I thought about was Brother Jerry said, like, just the faith of the centurion and also the faith of the leper. They in two different spots.
Yeah.
You got somebody who people don't want to be around, or you got somebody that people look up to or aspire to be like, or go where he say go. But at the same time, the same thing that will combine them both with their faith in Jesus, either to be healed or to heal somebody on their behalf. So that's the one thing I think about is no matter how, like Brother just said, how high or low you may be, you still have to have that faith in Jesus. Whether it's good, bad, you got to still bless God for all things that are happening in your life. So,
that's right. That's right. Y'all heard it. You out there, you heard it. We pray and we ask that you get the faith that you need, and you have to search the scriptures, get an understanding, spend time in the Word of God that to allow you to have the faith that you need to have the appropriate transaction between you and God, between you and the Holy Spirit. Faith is the transaction, not money. You guys go to church and stuff like that. I tell you, if you want to have this, if you want that, in life, you have to give this amount of money and all that stuff. Look, it starts with faith and it ends with faith. Money is just a tool that is transacted here on earth. There's no money in heaven. There's no dollar bills in heaven. Everything that's here on earth was needed. But if you want money to do things or to go in areas to help you in earthly transactions, they'll have to start out with need your faith. But if you use money without faith, that money is going to run you, not you running it. It's going to rule you. You're going to end up in places that you don't want to be. So just think about those. So I thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us on this podcast. Again, thank you, Brother Greene, for joining us on the podcast. I understand you're going to stay with us for the next couple of weeks.
Yes,
I appreciate you. And so this has been it. We covered part 1, and we'll be back next week to cover part 2. And we're still on that journey with Jesus. So please join us on the next podcast. Okay.